Yeah, we're good enough. For our committee of the whole meeting, we'll go ahead, because this is discussion items amongst the commission. We'll go ahead and get started. We are live streaming right now, so we're good to go. Let's start with three. If we can get to all three of these in the 6:30 timeframe, great. If not, let's at least start with the assessor's office, and then we'll get to public works, and then with the chiefs. Third on the safety security policy, because that might have a little bit more discussion. But as far as assessing goes, Kelly, we have on the docket tonight basically for our tax, industrial facility tax exemption certificates, a fee schedule for that. And I'm not sure, Daryl, if you want to provide the background first or just turn over to Kelly.
Yeah, I'll just turn it over to Kelly, but she can give you the details of where we've been falling in the region on as far as what we charge for these abatement requests, and we're rather low, so her and Chris have done some homework, and she can share the results. You have to press the red button there, Kelly. The button on there. There you go.
Perfect.
There, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello. So about a little over a month ago, Chris, our deputy assessor, says to me, "We've never raised the IFT fees." We call them IFTs, industrial facilities tax exemptions. I've been here 29, she's been here 28, and I'm like, maybe it's time to look to see if we should raise these, because cost of publishing has gone up, cost of doing everything has gone up. So I don't know, do they have copies of? Okay. So what's on this? It's double what it was. Everything has been doubled, and that's what we're asking you to raise them to. I did a survey of all the other local big units that have IFTs, and through the PA 198, that's the act that allows local units to have IFTs, these tax abatements. This was made up years ago too. You're allowed to collect up to 2% of the anticipated taxes based on the term of the abatement over the 12 years or however many years it's passed for. Calculating that can be it's a guesstimate at best, but Grand Rapids collects the 2%. Wyoming, they collect 1% of the projected savings with a maximum of $10,000. And then the other smaller things that are on that list, like the amendment or the name change or the transfer that are $600 on this resolution, Wyoming asks or collects $500 for that. Kentwood, they just have a straight $2,000 for everything unless it's over $5 million. Then they do 1% of what's above the $5 million. So they have to do some calculations. Cascade, Charter Township, they do a 2% of the, so they're going strictly by the state PA. And then Plainfield actually has got smaller rates than our current ones are. But I just think that over the years, this is one for AMG, and can I put this under a camera?
Sure.
I just wanted to share this with you. Because didn't you guys just pass one for AMG not that long ago they're associated with
The Acme Marine Group.
Yeah, that's the
on
site on
Acres.
the
Yep.
Fruit Region 4 Mile.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a tax calculation savings for this AMG Operations LLC. Dan actually has a spread, Dan DeVries, our treasurer, actually has a spreadsheet in his system. He does these calculations. So this first,
Thank you.
the first line of taxes is what's for the 12-year abatement. What the annual taxes would be if they didn't have the abatement, with the abatement. And then the next one is all the taxes without the abatement. And then the third and final one that I have circled, the 400,000 at the bottom, that's their actual savings over the 12-year period, estimate again. So then I did the calculation, if we did just change it to a flat 2% fee, they'd be paying $8,000 for that tax abatement. I don't think it's, because we're doing the same amount of work for all these abatements. Sorry. I don't think that doing a 2% fee is all that fair, because some of these things, they don't take a lot of time to do. I just think if we double our existing fees, and there's still a reasonable amount to charge them for it, and it'll cover our costs, I think that's more than fair.
So Kelly, coming back to the doubling, because we'd be like, oh my gosh, we're doubling the rates. 28, 29 years respectively,
Yeah.
that the two of you have been here, and we've not touched these.
It's never been touched. We actually had to have the clerk's office search to see if this was even put before the commission when it was originally put into place, and they couldn't find anything. So I think this is just a fee structure that the assessing office came up with years ago, and it's never been changed. And I don't think I don't think companies are gonna be saying, oh my gosh, because if they're shared that amount of tax savings over the years, and then we charge them $2,000 or $2,600 for a fee free for processing them, I don't think they're gonna be all that
Sure.
hurt to pay that amount.
All right, commissioners, questions, comments on this?
How often do other townships and cities change their rates? Do you
I didn't
know?
ask that.
I was just curious. I didn't know.
I don't know if,
Like every 17 years or?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Thank you.
I do have a quick one.
Yep.
And this is just on a go-forward basis, right?
Yeah, once you
Yeah.
pass it, it would be going forward. So all
So
the
for our
companies that
part.
have already applied for it, they've already paid their fees.
Yeah, yeah. So this seems harmless to me.
Okay. So Kelly, in your best estimation, and I know a lot of these numbers are estimates and support and principle exactly where you're going with this, but do you, we've covered our cost of administering the program. With a little bit in there, just a little bit of a cushion there. At what point do you feel that this is gonna need to be reviewed again, or do we just roll with this for now and then?
I would think if we got on a 10-year time frame, just check other municipalities and see what they're charging, and just do that every 10 years. I think that would be sufficient.
Okay.
Who even knows if they'll even have them still available in 10 years?
Yeah,
Personal property's going away, so.
Yeah, okay. All right, so commissioners, any other comments, questions, or concerns? So I'm gonna ask for a quick straw poll for the 7 o'clock meeting for approval to adopt, under Resolution 21-616, the new fee schedule for the industrial facilities tax exemptions. Okay, coming across. I think we're good if you wanna head out.
Thank you.
So thank you for all your work on this, as
Thank you
well
for
as
your time.
everything else, so. All right, good on that. Mr. Postma. So for those newer on the commission, our agreement with, it's actually with Kent County, who's contracted by the state to take care of Wilson and Lake Michigan Drive.
Correct.
And actually a little bit of Remembrance Road too, but,
Yeah,
so,
well, the whole M11 out to, the ramps there by 96 there, going
Yep.
towards Mar, so.
so we've had this in place, it's at
2017
Okay.
and 18 was the first winter that this started. So they asked us to take over. We had been doing Remembrance or M11 from City Hall to 96, started that, just helping them out on that side of it. And then they asked us to take over the rest of the M roads, not all of them, because we don't do 37, so, Alpine. So M11 and M45 within our jurisdiction of the city limits. So basically, we've been doing that since then. It's worked out well. We usually dedicate one truck to that, which is not the full shift. Usually after a certain amount of time, we pull him off, then he'll jump in, usually in the South District, and run off the west side of Leonard or wherever he's needed, or west side of Wilson, excuse me. So we do bump up the rates. The hourly rates are the C schedule rates from the state of Michigan. And then the hourly rates are, every year, the cost of living that we put on it. And then we add a 17% overhead on that also. And we put a $10 handling fee for every ton that we put in the truck. And basically on the material, Kent County just pays us back on what we use. So on their deliveries, they just deliver it to our barn. So we find it's a good thing. It's, I think, the service is there. Our trucks are going down those roads anyway. So if we just I said I can sign that paper and we'll get it going, because we may have snow Saturday morning,
True.
so.
Yep. All right, commissioners, comments, questions on this?
No, I'll just say it, you said it exactly right. We're driving these roads anyways, and it improves the level of service for the residents, so this is kind of a win-win situation. Best thing we can do.
And I think with a biased opinion, we do snow removal probably better than anybody else in the county. I think we can
I'm
all
not gonna
acknowledge
brag,
this.
but no.
Yes. So we're happy to do it, and as long as our costs are covered on this.
Yep.
I think we're fine on that end of it. So, so for Gary's benefit, quick straw poll as well here, coming around. We're good to go. Thank you for staying. Appreciate it. Good luck this weekend. Chief and Chief. So Daryl, I'm going to have you tee this one up if we can, and then we'll have our chief's address from there.
Yeah, this is really, Keith had asked to come in, just kind of give you an update of what's been going on in the department since he's been appointed chief. So I told him he could have a few minutes at the 6:30 meeting, just give you some brief updates on what's been happening in PD, so.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 months already. Imagine that, huh? So, no, I just want to stop by and give you an update, kind of where we're at, what we've been doing, if you haven't heard or read the newsletter. But all our staffing's up to place. Sergeant Maley and Sergeant Powell are working the night shift now. They're promoted from corporal to sergeant. Officer Ringling and Detective Koistro were put in the corporal position to backfill there. The problem we had with that is Detective Koistro is in the DB, so then that made another vacancy. So we have Luke Beal now, one of our detectives. And then at the shift change, Sergeant Tom Raisin took over as administrative sergeant, and we brought Mitch Harkma back into our community policing position. So we have that up and running again. So everybody's in place. We're looking good right now as far as all the staffing that way. Mitch is making contact with all the apartment complexes, all the schools again, getting those contacts going and just getting back out there doing what he does. So everything's working good. Right now, we have 2 officers off on extended injuries. Hopefully we'll get them back here in the next couple months. And also 1 in FTO. So we are down a few officers right now, but we're working through that as we go. Obviously, injuries are just part of it. Another thing we brought up earlier was the radios in our building. We have no radio service in our basement and half of our upstairs. So the BDA, which is a bi-directional amplifier, has been ordered. It should be here hopefully by the end of this month to get us radio coverage in our building. It's a pretty big price tag, but it's something we have to have. So, but that's coming. Hopefully, they got most of the stuff in, but it should be here by the end of the month. 3 Tahoes arrived for us finally, so Gary's happy about that. So we got those in. 3 more on order, so we'll get those outfitted here. With they believe they go down next week, so that's going to help us out in the garage. Get some of these cars that are anywhere between 143,000 to 150,000 off the road, and still keep those as spares. So we did get our cars in from last year's order. So those are all from last year's. They finally made it. Trainings. So one big thing we talked about was our trainings. September we had firearms training. October we did the DEI training here with the whole city, which was very successful. This month we're doing hazmat awareness training. And then next month we're doing our defensive tactics and medical first responder training. In the last 3 months, we've done 646 hours of training. That's over and above, obviously, their work schedule. And we break that down into 225 department trainings. Those are our monthly trainings. And we sent out, we've done 421 specialized trainings. So what we talk about specialized hours is that's when we send officers to a specialized training during the week or whatever they decide they want to do. So we were really hammering on the training hours and getting these people trained and getting them the extra schooling that they want. So one of those trainings we did was CIT, Crisis Intervention Training. We got 3 more officers that went through that, so now we're up to right around 20 of our officers. So we're pushing that 50% mark on crisis intervention training. The federal mandate or goal is 20%, and we're getting halfway, so we're going to keep going on that. So we're looking really good there. Captain Veen is getting ready to go to MSU Staff and Command, so he'll be going off to Staff and Command. And then Sergeant Joe Bartels is gonna go to the Grand Rapids Leader Institute out at Calvin College for 3 weeks. So those are some other leadership trainings that are coming up within our rankings here to keep everybody going. Just quick, another little thing, costs for service are up. I think we all know that. I look back at 2019 versus 2020 because of the COVID there, it kind of throws some goofy numbers in there. But we're up a few hundred calls of service up to this point of last year, so, which is, you know, not bad, but again, it's calls for service, mostly in the mental health area, domestics, things like that, that everybody's seeing during this pandemic. So we're getting through those right now, and looking at those and kind of just watching, see where those things go. Then another big thing we had to make a decision on is our senior volunteers. This was a tough one. So under the new criteria for the state to be accredited, we have to have a field training process and continuing training for the senior volunteers. So we have right now 7 senior volunteers, about 5 that are pretty active, and then they have to work so many hours every month. That was kind of, they haven't worked with us since COVID started, and their job duties have kind of dwindled. So the question was, when do we bring them back? What do we have them do that we can still do? So if we brought them back, we'd have to send them through a whole new training program. They would have to do quarterly trainings, and they have to work so many hours, which is a good thing. I mean, because they're out there doing stuff for us with no training. The downfall on it is they want to come in, obviously help us out any way they can, but to say, hey, you got to come in for a training is a whole nother ballgame, or you have to come in and work on these days. So we met with a couple of the senior volunteers who have been here the most, and at this time, it doesn't look like we're going to be bringing them back just because of the training and stuff like that involved. We told them they could come ride with us, have coffee with us, but as far as a organized unit, it's just, right now it doesn't make sense to bring them back in here and still with the COVID, what's going on, because they have to meet every standard that anybody else would have to. So that's kind of the downfall on that one. I know they did some recruiting to try to get us some more people. There wasn't a lot of interest in it. I mean, it's a tough program to keep moving forward. And I look at it as, what are we doing with their time? Is it valuable? You know, are they getting something out of it also, instead of, I hate saying it, like running towels over to Ice and Fitness for us. I mean, that's not what they sign up for, you know. They gotta have something valuable there. I value their time. So at this time, that's kind of the biggest thing. We are doing a recognition with them, lunch, got them some plaques and things like that. So but that's kind of where we stand right now. So that's kind of like 3 months in a whirlwind and where we're at. So any questions?
Commissioners?
No, but I'm glad that Mitch is back doing the communication with the community, because he just has a personality for that, and he just, I think he thrives with that.
Yeah, he's started right where he was. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a great asset for that, and obviously we want to expand that program a little bit too. but
Absolutely.
Down the road here.
I was sad when he went to a different position, but that just suits his personality so well.
I think we all agree with that one.
Keith, can you just give a quick update? You had mentioned the accreditation and where you stand in that whole process as well.
Yeah, so Sergeant Tom Raisman took over the accreditation process, which is through the MACP to get us accredited. He is moving right along. So we have until July 1st to get it done. Our goal is to get it done by then, but I told him we got to be realistic here. We got to do it the right way. So we can ask for extensions on that, 3-month or a 6-month extension, and then another 6 months if we need to. So we could do a 6-month extension just to the change, department head change, to get us to that point. But our goal, just to keep us driving forward, is to try to still hit that July 1st update or July 1st deadline. And I told him he'd just be truthful with us, you know. But he's done a lot. He's already, I think he's probably almost 40% of the way through. So he's moving on it. So everything was kind of in place anyway. So next year sometime, I mean, I'm hoping before July, but if we got to do that 3-month, 6-month extension, we'll be okay. So I think right now there's only 40 departments in the whole state of Michigan that are accredited. So it's a big thing.
Commissioners, anything else?
Just one thing, Chief. The senior volunteers thing is interesting. It does sound like right now, everything's shut down to the point where restarting is gonna be real hard. But going into the future, you're gonna have folks who retire or folks who have a lot of experience and they're maybe will be interested. And it is a nice capability to have, for a variety of reasons if we can keep it up. So I would just ask that you'd be thinking about, 2, 3, 4 years from now, is there a path to continue to do it with the right kind of person who already comes in qualified, or is it just too hard now because the requirements are too onerous?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think, every year we look at it, even on that aspect versus that. It's just, it is an asset, to a point, but with all the new guidelines and stuff like that, it's tough. So what Grand Rapids does in some of the bigger cities is they go pick up, like found bicycles and found property and things like that. We get like a found bicycle every 3 months. So when they come in Grand Rapids, they have like a list of things like that for them to do. So it's a little bit, obviously just the call volume thing, and I value their time. I know they want to come in and just kind of hang out with us, but at what point do we teeter that? They're a great voice for us, that those senior volunteers, and they really support us, not just the police department, but the whole city. They're a great voice out there for us. So yeah, if there's something that comes that way, there's no doubt we're always trying to look to where can we get those extra hands there, and it's sad though, but Kent County just got rid of their traffic unit. 72 officers, they're going down to 15 because of this, out of their traffic squad. Those are the same people that we used for the Memorial Day Parade to help us out. They got rid of all them because of this. So you're kind of seeing a little bit more and more of what's going on just with the accreditation process and making sure everything's done right. But yeah, they lost a bunch over there. So.
Tough time. Yeah.
It's like we're de facto defunding the police, via quasi-separate method by creating a requirement that's too onerous.
I don't know, was the traffic unit at the county, I don't know if that was a paid position?
No, a lot of it
It's
was not.
volunteer.
Yeah,
I know ours was volunteer.
ours is volunteer. Ours is volunteer. But again, the problem with that happened is the state's saying to do these, even though they're volunteer, you still have to meet the criteria of all this. Even reserve officers right now, through the MACP, it looks like they're going to have to become certified as a reserve officer to ride with police officers. So a lot of these departments they just don't want any reserve officer out there anymore with everything that's going on. So now, Oakland County, Macomb County, mostly on the east side of the state, you have to go to college to get a certificate of training for become a reserve officer. And then that's going to be even mandated by the state, which is really the same as a police officer. So it's coming. It's in Lansing, and it's in the works. So
The handcuffs are on, so to speak.
yeah, it's unfortunate. Again, like these they make the rules, and then you got to live with them and try to get around them or do something. So, but yeah. So.
One thing you had mentioned, I think it applies for both chiefs here, one of the things we've learned with the Tahoes, I had just come into office when we were making the conversion from the Crown Victorias to our very first Tahoe, and we bought rear-wheel drives back then, because it wasn't thought that we would need the four-wheel drive, and we learned we definitely did need them. But that being said, initially we thought, well, we're going to get maybe up to 150,000 out of these initially. The way these things run 24/7, they get the daylights beaten out of them because of the way they're driven at times. We're finding out that we're having to bring that number down more to the 120, 125 range, give or take. And I know you do a great job keeping that board in the back of the department. Whenever I'm over there, I look at that and see, okay, what do we have coming? Are we going to have enough inventory coming in to replace these? I do like hanging on to those older ones in a lesser capacity for any type of backup need we may have. But we're finding out they're not going to last as long as we thought, but it's nothing to do with the vehicle. It's the usage.
We're keeping track of that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
After, from 125 to 150, we get a lot more problems with everything from the heads, to air conditioning so we're keeping track, and we'll probably have
And that seems to be, that 125 is about the magic mark where things really start to go downhill. From there, we have a lot more costly repairs.
Yeah, like I say, we've talked about, I've been talking to Gary and them too, that 125, 130 is exactly right where it's at there. The only down, like I say, it's gonna be a budget thing, just to throw it out there, because if we go to 130, now we have, 6, 7 cars that gotta get replaced versus our 3. So, I mean, but again, it's workable, we can get through that. As long as we don't lose any this winter, we'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
That's the only downfall, if we lose one, which we always do, so, it kinda, hurts us, but, especially when you can't get them. That's, when we total a car out and someone hits us, and that's where it really
we had
hurts
that
us.
one totaled out last year.
Almost
yeah,
every year we get one, so hopefully it'll be the older ones.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Wow,
yeah.
okay. All right, anything else for Chief Mako? All right, thank you very
Good,
much, appreciate
yeah.
all the detail, we're good there. Chief Pelton? Any updates?
What did he say?
He's here to support the other departments. That's good. That means there was nothing for dinner at home, was there? Okay, yeah. We know yeah. All right, well, let's do this then. We've got about 5 minutes. I don't want to jump into public comment yet, in case we have others come at 7 o'clock, so let's start to
I was gonna say, Frank, if you want to talk about the security plan,
Oh,
I think
yes,
Frank can probably
small
do
little
that in
thing,
5
sorry,
minutes. If
thanks.
not, we can continue that on.
Okay, well, good evening. And what we have in front of you tonight is the product of some work between your department heads, your city staff, and the city attorney. And we called it the City Hall Safety and Security Policy. It's on your agenda under resolution, so that if you do pass it, then we have a good way to track it going forward in your resolution system in Sarah's records. The reason you have this in front of you is not to apply to meetings like this, and it's not to limit public comment or freedom of expression or any of the other First Amendment protections. So I want to get that out there right away. That's not the reason behind this. You do have an opinion from the city attorney that talks about how narrowly you need to tailor a policy like this, and that you can't just broad brush everything. And he does bring up the legal issue of different forums, different kinds of public forums. And I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to dissect that thing. But what I think it says in there is the policy that we're talking about here only applying to the interior of City Hall and only in the course of the normal business day and normal business operations is reasonable and legal. Where if someone is creating a disturbance to the point where it becomes threatening to your staff or to other people who are in the building, we would have the ability to then call the PD and say, can you come down here and let's talk about this with this person? And we will have this policy posted so that if we do need to remove someone from City Hall for trespass, we can. We have had a couple of incidents recently. We have incidents over the years. City Hall is a place that anytime you have rules and taxation and regulations, obviously we know that we're going to deal with some unhappy people. And your staff is trained to handle that kind of daily process of discussion with people who may not be entirely happy. But then this policy is not intended for those kind of daily interactions. This is for the unusual circumstance of, we just happened to have 2 recently, where we had people who were irate or were loitering to the point where they were trespassing because they were harassing your city staff and interfering with their ability to do normal business. We don't run into these situations commonly, which is good. But we want to have something in place so that when those situations do arise, we'll have some teeth to be able to work with the PD to say, judgment-based, okay, this situation's going over the normal line, and, we're going to ask that this person be removed for trespass. Really, that's it in a nutshell. It's only 1 paragraph, and it calls out specifically the interior of the building and not for public meetings. If you have a public meeting, it's a different kind of forum, it's a public forum, and there are different standards for allowing reasonable public comment and public expression. That's a whole different set of conditions than what this policy is talking about doing. So we tried to do it very narrowly, and again, this is something that we ask that you consider going forward. Hopefully we don't have these issues. They're rare. But in some circumstances, we also want to be able to point to a policy and say, you know, we have a policy for trespass here. And that way the reverse doesn't get out where you can go in there and do whatever you want to do within the walls of City Hall during normal business days. KDL has their own policy. So KDL is covered under a separate policy. I thought that question may come up because they have had some issues over there as well. And then we've had some issues at the Ice and Fitness Center, and because that's a membership-based building, even though it's under public ownership, there's the ability to remove people there under the rules and regs for members. So this building is, the policy is really built for this building. Interior, normal business operations. And I will do the best I can to answer any questions or concerns and go from there.
So you have this access, you have this access policy example, which you're basically proposing to use, is that correct?
I tweaked that down a little bit, and I'll tell you why. In the city attorney's memo, like Commissioner Burke is talking about, there's an example that we could use for our policy. And the city attorney was a bit more expansive and included a lot of outdoor spaces, including the parking lot outside and the sidewalk adjacent to the building. And I know we had some discussion at the staff level about, do you want to go that far? Because technically the parking and the sidewalks that surround this building are used for more than just access to this building. People are walking around, they're walking their dogs, they park here and they go do different things. So I tweaked down what was in the city attorney's memo to be specific to the interior of the building outside of the purview of a publicly noticed or Open Meetings Act meeting. And then outside of the building, outside of the connectivity for sidewalk and parking that abuts the building, on the perimeter or in the parks, that's a whole different standard there. You know, we may have some standards for getting a permit for a large gathering and those kind of things, but that is truly the public realm where you do have to allow public discourse, you have to allow freedom of expression, etc. So it's a little bit of a concentric circle approach, and that's why we wanted to make that inner ring of the concentric circle as focused as possible, and that's the policy I have in front of you.
I think the support I would offer up to the commission, I happen to be here for one of the situations that had come up, and it really was something that in any other type of environment would not have been tolerated, and there would have been law enforcement involvement, probably even a lot earlier, to remove that person from that hostile and harassing situation. So, okay.
I think we need to make sure that our people feel safe in their workspace.
Correct. And there's probably been a few other things that have been enhancements made around the building without being specific to limit the access of what normally was kind of a free-for-all, as you had a latitude of coming in and out of places. So that's been buttoned up since. So, all right, I believe it is 7 o'clock. Would you mind moving that mouse a second? Sorry, the screensaver. Good, so we're 7:02. I'm going to go ahead and call our regular city commission meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to invite Commissioner Burke to deliver the invocation this evening.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for a wonderful fall here in West Michigan. Please watch over us as we get ready for winter and the holidays. Help us remember your examples of how to respect each other, look after each other, and work towards common goals. Help guide this commission to do our best for the city of Walker. Please look out for our police, our firefighters, our military, all who watch over us while we sleep. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I'd like to invite everybody to stand and please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. If I could please ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Carey,
Present.
Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Burke,
Present.
Commissioner DeShane,
Present?
Commissioner Chase, present, and Commissioner Groders.
Present.
All right, next on the list is approval of Commissioner Glanville's absence this evening. I'll entertain a motion and support for that, please.
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll support.
Commissioner Groders, Commissioners DeShane, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Absence approved. Next is public comment on agenda items. Any public comment on items on the agenda this evening? All right, seeing none. We'll move to the consent agenda. First on the list is expenditures in the amount of.
Do the approval of the minutes.
Oh, sorry, skipped right over them. Next we'll take approval of the minutes from the October 13th, 2000.
I'll make a motion.
Actually, that should
I'll
be
second.
2021. Thank you.
I do have just one note. Under Pledge of Allegiance, it does say Mayor Carey present, and then we did approve your absence, so.
Probably should strike
slight-
that.
Slight addendum there.
Thank you. All right, I was here in spirit, but that doesn't count. All right, we have a motion for approval of minutes with that adjustment and the date change.
Sure.
Commissioner Gilbert, do I have support?
Support.
Commissioner Chase, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The minutes are approved now. Now we can jump. We had no public comment on agenda items. Next on the list is consent agenda. First is the expenditures in the amount of 1.188, 717,000 million and 55 cents. Second is the M11, M45 snow removal agreement with Kent County. Is there any other further discussion on those items? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Chase,
Second.
Commissioner Burke. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, consent agenda's pass. First on the resolution list is Resolution 21-616, which we heard about at the 6:30 Committee of the Whole meeting on the industrial facility tax exemption fee schedule for the assessing department. Is there any other discussion on this? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please.
Mayor, motion we approve Resolution 21-616.
Thank you, Commissioner Burke.
I'll support.
Commissioner DeShane, any other discussion on Resolution 21-616? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution 21-616 is passed. Next on the list is Resolution 21-617 on the city safety and security policy that we just discussed at the 6:30 Committee of the Whole meeting. Is there any other discussion on said item? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please.
Make a motion?
I'll support it.
Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Chase, support. Any other discussion on Resolution 21-617? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. Resolution 21-617 is passed. Next on the list is any other public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. Mr. Walkus, none? No. Okay. Thank you. All right, let's jump to Commissioner City Manager comments. We'll start to the left tonight. Daryl.
Just a couple of quick updates. I know Shannon sent out a notice or a notification to the commission about our DEI training scheduled for January 24th, late afternoon, 4:30 to 6:30 timeframe, so hope you can all make that. Second, just an update. Last week, I was able to attend the presentation on the Sustainable Business Park where they had the anchor tenant meeting. They were actually in town talking about that. If you recall, Dar was here at the last meeting talking about that, those companies, and there was reps from both of those companies that were there, just kind of giving some more background about their operations and the wallboard that they make and some of the biosolid fertilizer that they produce. So pretty exciting. So we'll see how that moves forward, but exciting to be in there and hear from the people that hopefully are going to be involved. They're in the negotiating process, so long way to go, but they made a lot of progress to date as well. So, yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Frank?
How about 3 items, but I'll make them brief. Captain Hugel Brandon Hugel will be doing a protocol for calling 911 here on Wednesday, 8:30. I sent that email out to you folks with her presentation. You're invited if you can make it. If there's anything in the presentation that could help you in your workplace, feel free to use that. And what you're seeing is the security upgrades that we're doing internally, which will be a variety of things, complementing your policy you just adopted tonight, and then Brandon's presentation on Wednesday. So it's just one of those things that I think we need some training on, and we're coming together as a group to hit it from a variety of angles. So that's item one. Item two, following Brandon's presentation, I'll be meeting with an appointed attorney to go over a lawsuit that we've been served with regarding billboards. We haven't been sued about billboards since 2013, and it apparently is our time. There's a variety of federal constitutional issues that are raised in the court, in the summons. So I will sit down with our attorneys appointed by MML on Thursday. These things never made it to Planning Commission. These are just typical applications that were denied because for a variety of non-contextual issues. And by that, I don't want to bore you with the whole sign ordinance thing and the Supreme Court case about how you can't look at it, can't read a sign to regulate it. That's a whole ball of wax that went up to the Supreme Court. But we'll definitely keep you apprised of what's going forward with this one. It'll be in the Sixth Circuit Court, and we'll try to get that thing resolved easily, but sometimes billboard cases can be a challenge.
Cincinnati.
I think that is, yeah, I'm not sure. Steve, do you have something to?
Yeah, I was gonna bring up, if I was trying to remember, I thought there was like a pretty significant court case ongoing for the billboard stuff, so I imagine we're like down ticket from that issue on this.
Yeah, there are billboards, probably the number one litigation when it comes to signage across the United States. And one of the issues is in 2013, I won't bore you, but we negotiated a settlement that put a two-sided electronic billboard, digital reader board next to the giant concrete pile by the Grand River, kind of in the no man's land where 96 and 131 comes together. That was a settlement from a court case that we did back in 13. This one, since then, the Supreme Court case has come down about signage, and I've talked to Tricia, and I said to her, my opinion, this comes down on the backside of the budget, which is looking pretty good, the audit. When we kick off the zoning ordinance amendments, let's do the sign code first. It's complicated, but it needs to be done, and there's just so much litigation out there. I want to see how you regulate signs without actually seeing what kind of sign it is, and then therefore you have to read it, particularly when it comes to a billboard, which is considered an off-site sign. That's more than you ever wanted to know about signs, right? So I'm going to stop there. We'll keep you apprised on the court case. And then last but not least, the mayor sent me an email today about parts of Greenridge being sold. Greenridge has actually changed hands quite a bit in a variety of fashions over the years. We have already met with Progressive AE, who's representing the new owner, and we've essentially said to them, hey, look, here's our new master plan. We know it's a little bit radical, but we assume that there, over the next 20 years, there will be some knockdown and rebuild of Greenridge. And we're saying, if you want to do mixed use consistent with the master plan, let's look at it. And I'll keep you apprised on that as well. And that's enough. Thank you.
Commissioner Burke?
Other than being fascinated by signs now,
There you go. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
and generally interested in the Greenridge progress with the thoughts you have there, I'd be excited to talk about that. I have nothing else, Mayor, thanks.
And that was I had shared it, I want to say that came out Friday on Wood TV. That's how we happened to hear about it, was just the news media thing. But I know Kelly's not here, but from a assessing standpoint, I believe it sold for 23.5. And there's just a influx of sales taking place up in that area right now. So, okay. All right, Commissioner Burke set, Commissioner DeShane.
Okay, must have been like a pickleball week, because I had a lot of residents contact me about that. But I want to let you know that I got some feedback from Michelle, and pickleball nets are coming down either this week or next week, just in case you guys get those kind of inquiries. DPW, police, I want to thank you for your support, helping us with that accident situation that happened by Maple Row. And thanks for responding so quickly. I really appreciate that. And Frank, thank you for sending over the presentation. I actually have seen that presentation, parts of it, the nail in the head. We use that at our office too, so thank you. I thought that was very well put together. Nice job.
All right. Mr. Chase?
None for me.
All right. Commissioner Groders?
And none for me.
Commissioner Gilbert?
Just thought I'd give an update from Planning Commission. We did approve the final area site plan for English Hills. So, they have a few smaller kinks to work out, but I think beyond that, we're gonna see some dirt moving in the near future over there, which is very exciting in the first ward. I think there's been a lot of work with the neighbors, and the folks over in the English Hills and English Ridge condos are very understanding of what's gonna happen, so not a lot of the conflict that you might expect for a major project like that, which is pretty astounding for a project of that size. Smoke Shack Barbecue, new place on Remembrance Road, right next to Lost Art Brew House. That, from my perspective, is a very exciting project. I think that's going to be really good for that corridor to have something like that local restaurant. So looking forward to that. They do have some parking concerns that have to get worked out, but by and large, just the exact type of business that I envision going in that area. So we'll look forward to seeing that. Benji Salon got approved for their change of location from their prior approval to a spot on Kenyon Lake Michigan Drive, sort of by the party store there. And then over on Turner, we did have a change of use from the folks that were transporting sand at that site through the rail lines. They have transitioned to propane, which is, I think, falls under hazmat classifications. I believe our fire department had some training on that, so more power to them, and hopefully less large piles of sand near the railroad lines there. And on the Green Ridge part, Frank, I would love to have a follow-up discussion with you and Commissioner Burke as well, just to have some conversation about what we're hearing on that.
All right. Madam Clerk?
I'm all set, thanks.
All right, I will be brief. One thing before I forget, on the crisis intervention training, the 911 calls Frank alluded to, I'd happened to stop into the most recent training that was taking place out on the Beltline, and spent about an hour just listening into the training from the back of the room, and a lot of area agencies represented in. For somebody that I feel like I understand that world, enough. It was actually very engaging, but it was incredibly insightful in the things and putting your self in the person that we're working with at that point in time. So I don't know the presentation necessarily does it justice. They need to be there in person and hear the interaction. I always look in a room, and if you see a room full of people and it's a training, that your department's encouraging you or maybe making you go to, if I see people checking phones and doing other things, they're not really engaged. This is one where phones were down, and there was a lot of engagement in the room, and that's really, I think it's hard in the world of law enforcement to be vulnerable in that and have those discussions there, and it was really cool to see. So Captain Hugel did an awesome job leading that training. Before I forget, congratulations to our former mayor and Senator-elect Huizenga on his special election win. Looking forward to having him continue to serve us, and I know there are some things he doesn't want to get over the front of our skis on, of things that he's trying to do for our city that will be pretty exciting in probably the next month or so, hopefully from a funding perspective, again, without letting that cat out of the bag. So I'm actually really excited about it. Thank you to the American Legion and our city staff for getting our first ever Veterans Day parade off. And I know the American Legion sponsored that, and it's the first time that they've done it. And but just really, it's something special. And hopefully that continues to be a tradition that they take on in the city. And then, last but not least, I met with Dr. Pink from Grand Rapids Community College last week, and I think it's right to share a little bit about this now, because things are starting to get out to the public eye. But there is a growing consortium, and our two chiefs are going to kill me for not sharing this with them earlier. There is a regional public safety training center that is slated to go in Kent County at a location to be determined yet. In meeting with Dr. Pink, had advocated for the city of Walker being potentially a site, but we would support whatever it was because the training facility for police and fire, doesn't matter where it's at, there's nothing but good that comes out of it. All of the major cities are taking part. Ottawa County's actually a part of it now. I don't think I'm missing anybody, but it's meant for training for police and fire in our area. You want to share details?
Yes, I just had a meeting today actually on that. I was down at GRCC and it's definitely going forward. It sounds like it. They got a lot of backing. It's a police, fire, EMT, paramedic, private security school. So all those entities will become on one, and what they want to do is make a campus just for those entities. We did visit 4 sites today. None are in the city, but and they're out there. So one of the spots, not that any of them are out there, is 4 Mile and Bristol. There's a lot there on the northwest side. It's got 45 acres right now for sale. That is one of the sites we visited today and walked, which I was very happy for. The other one is 4 Mile and Cordis, the orchard. So they need about 45 acres is what they're looking for the complex. The orchard's about 150 acres, and the cost on that's a little bit high, so they gotta do some work on that. The other 2 locations were down off from M6 and Wilson area. The problem they have down there is there's no city water for the fire school. So they got a lot of work to go through that. So the 4 Mile one, it's out there. I have a whole brochure on it. It definitely is moving forward. We have some more going on, and I think there's a mayor, city manager meeting coming up at the end of the month.
Yep.
So all that's out there now. It's public. So
Yes, I think we were getting close to talking about it.
Yeah, so it is out there. So it is very, very interesting and rewarding, and especially if we can get it over here and just in Alpine Township. But it'd be great to have a huge training facility, firearms range, outdoor driving course, just like MSPs, burn houses, hazmat houses, or hazmat situations, rail cars. I mean, it's top notch. They've been all over the country looking at these things. So we met as advisory board on that, and obviously I like the 4 Mile address, but we'll see. So yes, 100%. So there'll be more.
And there's actually been, if I'm not mistaken, has the funding been allocated already? Or it's about to from the state?
I couldn't tell you 100% for sure, but I believe there was, I know money's been talked about. I can't, there's so much money getting
Our
right
senator,
now, I couldn't tell you.
I know our senator-elect has his hands very deep in
So
that.
we were left
Driving.
with the idea of money coming sooner than later, so we need to make sure we have our spots ready to go and get this thing done. So I think it's gonna happen sooner than later. It's just a matter of where all that money kinda gets divvied up and who gets it, but they're already looking at property and just ready to go, so,
Yep.
yeah, but it's out there.
Yeah, exciting news, and I feel that 4 Mile corridor is really being right in our area here.
They're supposed to send me a electronic version of the whole plan and everything. So as soon as I get that out, I'll send it out to you guys. And then you guys can see it all, so that's why it's public, so.
Cool,
Good.
thank you. So, exciting stuff going on in Walker, so outside of that, anything else for the good and order? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment, approval and support, please.
Make a motion?
Support?
Gilbert, Commissioner Groders, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those